Knock it out. What's up, guys? This is Shae.
And this is Matt.
This is the Building Small Business Podcast. Today we're here with Wes Russell. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Finally found the place. So.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I feel like I'm meeting a pen pal for the first time.
Yeah, no joke. I feel like I think we found each other off hashtags or something like that. It's like, you hashtag like Kentucky for Kentucky or whatever. But yeah, as much as we've DM'd each other and like technology's weird, man.
Yeah.
It's
the power of social media.
Yeah.
Wow.
What?
That was good.
Yeah.
Power of social media.
I started to say the same thing. I feel weird. I don't know whether to sit back. You're sitting up, but should I sit back? Is this good?
It's a really deep couch, so then I feel like I'm like slouched like this.
I got you.
So,
okay, we'll sit up.
Yeah.
We'll lean in.
All right.
Sorry.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Wesley. You can call me Wes or Wesley. Owner, operator, whatever, fill in the blank. WesWorks Media. I'm a full-blown media /production company. I mainly do videography, cinema stuff, but I do digital design, photos, kind of whatever digital content is out there. Content's like the big hot word right now, but been doing content stuff. I guess my business card says video and content professionals, so that's basically how I brand myself. Is like we do a lot of marketing stuff for companies, so just basically, if it's a type of content that you need marketed, that's basically what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. And how long have you been doing that?
I have as a job, I've been doing it for going on 3 years now. So I've had a camera in my hand like pretty much since I was little. I think I stole my granny's like little Polaroid full.
Yeah.
And then I just found out that you're not supposed to shake them.
Oh, we did too.
Yeah.
We use them all the time.
Yeah, just and put them in a bag. But as far as like
Tell that to Andre 3000.
Yeah.
First off.
Like a Polaroid. Yeah. But as far as like the first time someone Venmo'd me money for it, I think it was early 2019. So going on 3 years.
So did you go to school for anything to do with film or cameras?
No, I actually went to school for kinesiology, so like how the body moves, exercise science, things like that, and I have not used that ever.
Yeah.
It's like other than like training some like high school football players for a few months, that hasn't done anything for me. So
I don't think that'd do much for me either.
Yeah.
I don't move too much, so there wouldn't be much to study about me.
Right. Well, like I guess you called it. I think you were the one who called it YouTube University.
Yeah. Yeah.
So other than that, I probably have like a master's degree in YouTube right now. But
so did you just move back here from Nebraska?
Basically, yeah. So I got married to Elena in November of last year, 2020. We figured might as well get married while we could because we didn't know if we'd legally be able to, have anybody around us or anything. So we got married, and then I camped out there for a few months, and business just didn't pick up. It's hard to rebuild a business. Like, you guys know, you all seem like you own 40 businesses.
Yeah.
So it's like, not only that, but it's just kind of a quieter way of life in Eastern Kentucky, and, Omaha's a big college city.
Yeah.
I think there's 500,000 people, and they say 60% of them are college students. So
That's crazy.
yeah, you got Creighton, University of Nebraska, all that stuff. So yeah, so I've been back about 2.5, 3 months. It doesn't feel like it because we're kind of like you and Jess. We travel a lot. So
Nomadic a bit.
Yeah, nomadic. Yeah.
So with your business, do you do a lot of like branding work, like commercials and stuff for companies?
Yeah, that's kind of what I would rather focus on. That's kind of basically what I do focus on. Is I've kind of pushed myself into more like a long-term style with companies. I didn't really like the lifestyle of just like working with a company, being like, hey, thanks, sent the check over, appreciate it, and then never seeing them again. It's kind of why, like, my Instagram says, I specialize in small businesses. I'd much rather work in, businesses with 1 to 20 employees, just feel like I can bring them more value than, a Fortune 500 company or something.
More personal
like that.
relationship.
Absolutely. So I do a lot of branding stuff like that, whether it's logo work or just completely rebranding things, for a web designer, things like that. But mainly it's just social media commercials. I've done a few TV commercials and stuff like that, but 2021 they don't do that well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, might as well utilize what's free. And then, you know, if businesses want to throw money in it, I always just, you know, use Facebook Business. I stay away from the promote button. That's a key fourth wall break wherever it's at.
Yeah.
Stay away from that promote button and use the business suite on Facebook. But yeah.
Tips.
Hell yeah, I appreciate those. I need everything I can get.
Yeah.
So when you said you got Venmo'd the first time, it's
Yeah.
exciting. So that's like the inception of the
Yeah.
start of everything. How did you turn that one piece of business into what you have now?
Yeah, so that Venmo thing was an accident. Well, no one
I love
Venmo'd
when
me on
people
accident.
accidentally Venmo me.
Yeah. I like make a lot of my like payments to banks on PayPal, and the other day I thought I PayPal'd the wrong bank, and it was like, you know how banks are, you ain't getting that back.
Nightmare.
So but I didn't. Yeah, that would have been a nightmare. So basically, I bought a little cheap Panasonic G7. They're like still $350. I still, without a shadow of a doubt, like if you want to get into any video creation, like just pick that little camera up. It's crop sensor. It weighs like less than an ounce. Like that camera, I bought it from a guy who started his production company, and then I started my production company on it. And like now I've basically given it to my little brother-in-law, and he's starting his, you know, such a powerhouse, like the best $400 I ever spent in my life.
That's awesome.
But I was out hiking. We were talking before the show started. I tore my Achilles in October of 2019, and I wasn't allowed to run or anything like that. And then basically a few months later, they're like, hey, you can start walking, hiking, and things like that. So started hiking, and one of the cool things I thought when I was ultra running was like these waterfalls. And I followed this guy, Mike. I think he's from London, and Mike Cochis, or Cochis. You can find him on Instagram. And he always had these long exposure waterfall shots. And I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Like, I just want to go hike around and take waterfall shots. So I did that, and I had like no like rhyme or reason. Like, I didn't understand like, oh, you need it to be cloudy, you need it to like rain the night before. And I was just out hiking, and there's this Pine Island Double Falls. Like, I think a lot of people in Kentucky probably know about it. Back then, no one really knew where it was at. And I'd finally like weaseled my way into the waterfall community, and somebody's like, hey, here's the GPS coordinates. And it just happened to like be raining a monsoon for like 4 days before there. Again, I like had no, like that wasn't the reason I went. And then it's basically this massive double waterfall that, you know, crosses over when it's rained a lot. And I just thought, man, I knew nothing about composition, like photos, anything. I was like, this would be a cool shot. So I got up on the rocks. I just stood there. I'm looking up at this huge waterfall. It's like, oh, cool. I went home, edited it, and a buddy of mine who runs a videography company, he was like, dude, this is something. And I was like, oh, cool, whatever. I posted it at like midnight, like terrible for analytics.
Right.
And I woke up, and like my Instagram for fun that had like three followers on it, I had like 680 followers when I woke up.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
And I was
sick.
like,
yeah.
what in the world? And then I had like 4 or 5 publishing agencies that were like, hey, we're putting these books out. And one of them just happened to be the Instagram page Waterfall for Days. And Zach Frostick, the owner of that page, was like basically putting together all these books. And so he bought that picture from me and put it in his Waterfalls of North America book. Literally like the 3rd picture I had ever
That's so
taken
cool,
in my
man.
life.
That's crazy.
So they Venmo'd me for that. And I was like, oh, I don't know how. He's like, hey, what's your bank's routing number? I was like, oh, I don't have an account for this. Like, you know, so I think I sold that for like $120. Looking back on it, I was like,
Dang, he got a deal.
yeah,
didn't he?
man. I was like, geez. So I think I've only had like 3 or 4 more like nature photography, you know,
Successes.
successes like that. But I definitely got a little more than $150 for it. So, but that was how that happened. I was just kind of having fun, and you know, getting into a new hobby, and somebody's like, hey, that's worth money. And I was like, I guess 150
That's
bucks.
awesome.
Yeah.
If there's anywhere the universe was telling you like, hey, go do more of this, it's that.
Yeah. So that night, I think I had that G7 for like 3 weeks, and then that night I ordered a GH5, which is like the most legendary mirrorless video camera ever. It's like it's such a good beginner's
It
video.
must be something because I've heard of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I ordered one of those. Amazon had a sale. It was like $700 off. So I was like, oh, use all my same lenses. And that's when I started doing video work. Got on YouTube and was like, what's this camera good for? And basically everyone was like, sorry, Wes, it's not a good photography camera. It's a video camera. So I started seeing some like short films and stuff. And there used to be a movie on Netflix that was filmed with it. And I was like, oh, I could do this. And I couldn't. I tried really hard, but I couldn't. And it just took off from there. And then before I knew it, it was like a car dealership hit me up and was like, hey, we just want like a basic, 45-second video, and priced it way too low on that one too. But I was just having a blast,
Yeah,
so.
you learn.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. I
Yeah.
feel like I've talked to Shae about this specifically. Is like sometimes he undervalued things in the front end of of business, and
Matt
it's
has
like
to get on me sometimes for undervaluing things.
a little bit, yeah. So I had another idea here that I never thought I would learn two things in the first like 10 minutes or so of a podcast. There's a waterfall community.
Yeah, that's big.
Did you know that?
I'm not in it. 'cause I
Did you
don't
know
where
there was a
lot of these
waterfall
are.
community?
I did, yeah.
I didn't even know that
It's
there was hidden
elusive.
waterfalls that you had to get the GP. Like that sounds like a sick game though.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Waterfallsofkentucky.com, and there's 780 of them.
oh yeah,
So it's
Okay.
and it's all GPS. So
Yeah.
if you're
That's dope.
if you're like anti, stay on the trail, like it's probably not for you. But it's like, you know what I mean? So
I lucked my way into one of them, Dog Slaughter Falls one
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Was a really good one. It had just rained then, so it was
Yeah.
like really coming down.
I just wonder like how do we see these beautiful things online and we're not supposed to go see them?
yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
like, who put the trail there?
Yeah.
That's always my response is, okay, well, why'd they put the trail?
I'd say there were people visiting that waterfall a lot way before we were.
We
So,
should have done the podcast at those waterfalls.
Oh, that would have been loud, but yeah.
don't know how we would have gotten the electric out there without old Jeremiah, but
Just scream the
yeah.
whole time into the mic.
The way that I put it is like, regardless of how you believe the earth got here, whether it got put here or whether it just ended up here, it's like someone had to go off trail at one point. Like the trails didn't just pop up,
what I was saying earlier is like if let's just say the people that gathered here before us, like I guarantee you there was a trail to that waterfall.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
100%.
it's grown back up. I promise. It's
Yeah,
it's
like
okay.
Dog Slaughter Falls, like you look into the name Dog Slaughter with the Indians and things like that. Like there's 100% a trail before
Before we
Americans
came
got
along,
here,
yeah.
Spaniards, whoever,
Yeah.
So it's-
Right.
Yeah.
It was cool. So did you own a business before you started this? Had you ever owned a business before this?
Technically, yeah. So I grew up a tobacco farmer and things like that. So obviously, depending on how much you make off of farming things, you either just be a sole proprietorship or and then get destroyed by the government or turn it into a business. So
Yeah.
Right.
technically, yeah. But before that, I went to college for kinesiology. Never really used it. Like we were joking around. I was like, for me, that was a big waste of money. There's millions of people out there using their degree. I just don't. And then after that, I've actually, for the past 8.5 years, I've been a senior pastor in Eastern Kentucky.
Okay.
Spent 4 years in Harlan County and then about 3.5 in Casey County. So I was just, kind of thrown into it. Since I think I was 18. So I'm just kind of taking a couple years, easing my mind. Never been able to be a church member.
Yeah.
Always been up front. So, just got married, like I said, November. So I was like, let's figure out how to be a husband.
Yeah.
And we'll get on with that a little bit later. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I like it. What is your favorite form of advertising in terms of? Let's go with what's gotten you the most business.
What's gotten me the most business?
Not just your favorite form of advertising, but
Right.
the most effective.
So the most effective thing that's gotten me more business, I had this like little cheesy saying. Anyone who's been in an interview and like I've interviewed people before, and I've said this in an interview, you hear this like, I'm just a people person. I just love people. This is about 5 years ago before I even had my business. I kind of came to the conclusion where I was like, it's just not enough. Because everybody says that, and I think most people mean it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think most people mean, like, if you're saying you're a people person, no one makes that up because it's like the cool thing not to like people nowadays. It's like, oh, I'm such an introvert. And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, if you're naturally an introvert, cool. But I always say, I like to take that further and just say, it's not enough to like people. It's not enough to love people. You got to invest in people. And it's not really a form of, advertising, but that has literally got me the most business, is people realizing like, hey, this guy, like, he's not going to just shoot a commercial for me. Like, he's going to like rep me. He's like a ride or die with us. Like, anywhere I'm at, like if I've done a commercial for you and someone's like, yada, 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 like coffee, it's like, oh, this brand, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, I work with this brand. I know these dudes. They're awesome. As far as like the actual form of advertising, it's just word of mouth. And that's why I brought up the investing in people. Because if you're just in and out, whether it's realty or whether it's video work or whether it's, making counters down the road, like if you're just in and out, people realize that, I always bring up, everyone's been in this situation where you've been really excited about something and then someone just ends the conversation and it's like, oh, they were annoyed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, it's like, oh man, they were annoyed. Like the other day I was talking to my mom, I was just rambling. She just walked up to me, hugged me and she's like, I'm going to go home. I was like, oh, I annoyed her. I was like, I annoyed her. I was like, oh man, I annoyed her. And I always try not to do that with customers. And a lot of people probably would like provoke that in me. So I choose not to work with some people like that, and then I'll recommend other people. I'm like, hey, this might not be a good fit for me, because I owe it to them, just as much as they owe it to me to be invested in them, It's kind of like the cool thing about running a small business like I do that helps small businesses is it's just one of those things where they can see through my facade because they're technically doing the same thing as I'm doing. They're trying to put food on their table just like I am, while still trying to care about people, So word of mouth has just been huge for me. Believe it or not, like still today, the 3 videos I've done for free in my life are still the videos that people hit me up about and are like,
isn't that crazy?
And what it is it's just, I shared this meme. It was like a $500 client. It's like, hey, I just want you to know that before I wire you this money, this is about to change both of our lives forever, and we will never be the same. And it's like $50,000 customer, money sent, thanks. And it's like, it's seriously like that because those people who got a video for free realize like no one else is getting a video for free, and we've got a hold of Wes before a lot of other people have. And it's all about value. And it just, like you were talking about undervaluing yourself, that has sent my business kind of to the moon, especially here lately, where early on I just dealt with people, and I think in 2021 a lot of people don't have the patience to just deal with people, and I enjoy it. Like, I don't just say the cliche things. Like, I would rather go through the hard stuff with customers and treat them like a human being, so they don't have to use another company who just won't. So
to kind of parallel a little bit of that with like the real estate side of business, like I've always really enjoyed helping people buy their first homes because they're always the most appreciative ones. Like when you call and say congratulations, like hell, they'll cry half the time. Whereas like somebody else, like it's probably their third or fourth one. They're like, oh, thanks. Like hopefully this goes quick.
Right. I think to kind of piggyback off that and what you were saying, in the real estate business, I run into people that have another business, you name it. So they're selling popcorn down the road, or they're selling fitness to people, or they're selling videos to people. Customer service in general goes a long way. So if you can treat maybe don't treat it like your business like a real estate business, but if you can treat the customer service side of that business like how would Chick-fil-A respond?
Yeah.
How would somebody that does really good at customer service treat this situation in my business?
Yeah.
And if you can do that, you're probably going to have a lot of word of mouth success and just keeping a tight knit circle for people that are your own ambassadors. Like you were mentioning, like if someone mentions coffee, it's that business. Like that goes a long way. People realize like, well, whenever we talk about going to meet somebody for drinks somewhere or like business meetings, we're right down the road from Miratwin.
Yeah.
We love those guys. Like we'll just try to go there.
Yeah. 100%.
We were there last night.
It's just all we like. You want to go work with the people that you like.
Yeah.
And if you do that and you invest in people, they become like your own personal cheerleaders. Like they're going to hype you up so much to anybody they ever know.
You talk about the waterfall community, like you didn't know there's a waterfall community. It's the same thing. And that's one huge reason why it's like, we shifted back to Kentucky was because I think I've been to 48 states now, just haven't been to Hawaii and Alaska.
You need to go to Alaska.
I know. I knew you were going to say that, dude. It's like, you cannot mention Alaska around this guy without him being like, you got to go there right now. But so I've been to every state except for Alaska and Hawaii. And one thing about it is, like, there's no small business community like Kentucky small businesses. Like, and I don't know if it's just the size of our state. I have no clue. But there can be a rinky-dink hole-in-the-wall taco shack in Pikeville, and somebody hears about it in Paducah, and they'll make the 4.5-hour drive just to go get 3 tacos. It's there's no other state like this. Like, the East Coast is close just because it's like everything's crammed on top of each other. But I have never in my life experienced like just the knit of like, well, I mean, you want to take like me and Elena, and then like, you and Jess, like we're on paper, we're competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're looking for couples, you're looking for businesses, but it's like you literally, and I have messaged you before where it's like, hey, we got this going on. Do you know a way to navigate this? Or we're dealing with this issue. And it's like, that doesn't happen. Like, and take it from me, someone who's lived other places, like that does not happen everywhere. Yeah. Like, if you're taking that for granted, like here in Kentucky, learn to appreciate the fact that your competition roots for you.
Yeah.
So.
I love that.
Yeah. If everywhere was like that, it'd be a lot better.
Oh man. Yeah. It's just, I think people will get so caught up in trying to be successful that they have this like fake version of success where it's like everyone else has to lose in order for me to succeed. And it's like, that's not the case.
Well, and too, like, I mean, if you treat everybody like competition, it kind of sucks, because if you can reach out and ask for advice, they're the ones working in the field you need advice from. Like, if I needed to know how to price a video shoot and I call the doctor, like, he's not going to know what to say. I got to call another guy that shoots videos for people. Like,
can we talk about last weekend?
What's that?
What you guys did?
What did we do? Shit. Oh, okay. So, yeah, for example, dude, I don't know. I don't know. I did half the time.
What do we do? What do we do?
Last week, I guess, I don't know, within the last 2 weeks, a photographer friend of ours got sick and wasn't able to make it to the wedding she was supposed to shoot. So, like, on a 4 or 5 day notice, pretty much, called us and asked if we could do it. And so we, like, ran down to Southern, it was 2.5 hours away, to shoot this wedding for them. So, like, not every business you're going to get that kind of support. And I hope someday, if that happens to us, like, somebody will do that for us. Yeah. So, you mentioned you do a lot of different things with WesWorks Media. Where do you kind of see it growing in the future?
So kind of the area that I kind of forced myself to push it into has been, I call it social media marketing. I don't necessarily like, pride myself in being the best marketer and being able to get the most reach and being, but in my marketing, my social media marketing, things like that, the main thing is I try to convince customers, not because it helps me only, because it does help me, but because it helps them, is to push for long-term stuff. So, like, this is one of those things that you messaged me about, like, you all working with this certain company, and you're like, we have these things going on. Like, how would you price this? I can't even remember what you asked me, but it was good to see that, because it helps you all have some form and function and figure of like the future for your business. And a lot of people, for me it started, I won't even put it on a lot of people. For me it started out of a selfish, like, oh, I'm like 3 months I'm living like a king, and then I'm drawing out of my savings for the next 2 months, and 3 months I'm living like a king. And then I started noticing that the companies who hired me to do video marketing for them, that hired me for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and kept me around, I wasn't doing anything different, but it was just the consistency of what they were doing that helped their business and helped my business. And I realized, like, oh, both me and the consumer can, like, kind of profit from this, in the sense of we're going to stick long term, and I'm going to be your video guy, or I'm going to be your digital design guy, or I'm going to be your social media guy. And that saves you from having the stress, just like I do, of like, oh, where's my next paycheck going to come from? And I know a lot of people, I've actually been told, like, don't tell people that. like on a podcast, especially like don't tell people what you're thinking. But my whole business model has been pushed, especially in the last 4 months, of like I'm gonna shy you away from just getting one thing done with me for some selfish reasons, but also one thing doesn't help you. Like there's a few companies in this world, probably a ton of them, but that I've worked with specifically, who've learned this lesson of, hey man, there's no such thing as a home run video. Like it may draw 100,000 views on your Facebook page, but you got to keep going.
Yeah.
Like
the next day, if there's not another one, then they just kind of forget about it.
Yeah. So that's where my business model basically comes in. Is it's, hey, I'm going to stick with you for like 3 to 12 months bare minimum, and we're going to figure out what kind of content reaches your ideal customer, not just any customers, but the one that you want. And that's like a term that's been thrown around a lot lately, and I kind of like it. It's your dream customer. I'm so glad we're moving away from the, well, you just got to deal with this customer because they're always right, and we got to, it might just not be a good fit. It just might not be a good fit as far as.
We deal with that in everything. Yeah. I mean,
many ways.
Yeah, many ways. Like find your ideal client, pretty much is how we say it.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I do is, I try not to turn anybody down just because, depending on how you do it, it might look bad. It's like, well, they didn't want to work with us. But when I do, I'm always like, hey, there's this company that really does this type of stuff really well. And it's probably just going to be like sandpaper rubbing together if me and you do it,
I think you kind of have to. I think people appreciate it if you tell them like, hey, I don't think we're a good fit, but so-and-so down the street could be better. And we've done it before. Like if people say like, well, hey, I really like the pictures you take, but I really want mine to look this way. And I'm like, well, I just don't.
That's
but
the
here's
perfect way
five
of
people.
putting it.
Here's 5 people that do.
Yeah. That's, like I mentioned earlier, it's like, I feel like I owe it to people to be completely transparent with them. And it would be wrong of me to go into a business like relationship with someone knowing that it's going to be harder for both of us than it could be.
Well, and you're not the best version of yourself if you're doing something you're not enjoying doing and isn't going to like really be your best work.
Absolutely.
In any facet.
And that's why, like I've done videos. This is going to sound like really prestigious, but people really, if you have a videography company out there, like listen to me, like big videos are attainable. Like I've worked with Amazon, I've worked with Ford, I've worked with Mutual Omaha, like Wells Fargo, and I learned like I don't like this. They don't care about me, and at the end of the day, like I don't like this. It's like I'm sitting here doing stuff for Amazon that depending on how you want to look at it, they're trying to run people out of me like me out of town.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like smaller businesses and things like that. And that's why I just had to realize like, oh, really the only people I like working with are small businesses. It's like,
exactly,
and I know that's like the fun and trendy thing to say around here, but generally I just don't enjoy working with massive worldwide companies. It's just,
I like to think of that this way. Not that you can go buy your groceries from a boutique, but like, let's just think about how you feel when you walk into a commercial store, PacSun, somewhere with trendy.
How was PacSun the first company you thought of?
I was thinking of those stores in the mall, like what's the store that starts with a Z? It's like a skateboarding type stuff.
Zoomies.
Yeah, like
Zoomies.
like those all of those stores that you can think of that have just all sorts of different clothes. Like you can get a plain T-shirt, printed, whatever.
Right.
And then you walk into a boutique. They have all sorts of clothes, plain, printed. Down here at the Domestic has vintage, all of those things. What feeling do you get when you buy something from the box store that's a big one?
Yep.
And then what feeling do you get when you buy something from a boutique?
Yeah.
It feels different. It makes you feel good that you're supporting somebody that lives 5 minutes away from you, maybe 10, who knows? But
it truly does. Like, and I'll use Tableau Coffee Co. in Harrodsburg as an example, just because like you literally mentioned something I was talking to my wife about on the way up here. It was like, it just clicked in my head. I was like, I used to like, coffee's good, and like it's always been good. Like I'm the type of guy who's like, it takes a lot to make a bad cup of coffee for me. Like I grew up on a farm. Like you just there's no
Folgers.
time. There's no time to remake a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? And I remember being shocked when my wife like asked Starbucks. It was like, hey, this tastes weird. Can you remake it for me? And they're like, oh, of course. I was like, what? I was like, what did you just do? No, like that's rude. And they're like, no. And there was literally a sign right there that said, hey, if this is not made the way you want it, tell us, we want you to like it. And I was like, I could never, because it's just coffee to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I started working with Tableau, and like one of the things was like, hey man, I'm gonna try your coffee. Like I'm not gonna like put out all this stuff if I don't like your coffee. And that dude makes the best. He's ruined coffee for me. You know what I mean? But every time I like buy coffee from him, like for 2 weeks, I'm like, man, I helped Matt out.
Yeah.
Like I'm making his dream come true, you know, and he helped my dream come true by working with me in video early on and things like that. And it's like, it's just that satisfaction. And when I go to Kroger and buy some, what is it, $17.89 or something, that weird coffee company or whatever it is, it's like, huh, you know, it's just, and my little brother's a manager at Kroger. So it's like, I should have a little bit of like I help, but I don't.
Yeah.
You know?
They're going to be fine.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just when you buy things, I want to be 100% honest. And I'd say that like you all are in realty and photo and video stuff. It's like when you get a DM from someone, it's like, hey, we saw this video and we were wondering what this would cost. Like that gets you amped.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man. Cause you know, you're always your own worst critic, and you sit there at night and it's like, man, they're probably thinking about how weird that was. Or they're probably thinking of everything that was wrong with my video. Or they're probably thinking, man, he tried to pull the wool over my eyes.
Just calling me out back here.
He probably like, and it's just one of those things where it's like, man, you all have no clue how much you make small businesses' life so much better when you just use them.
Yeah.
Buy something from, even if you just share it on Instagram, anything, like wear their shirt around, you know, just do something.
Yeah.
You know,
It's pretty much all I do anymore.
Same.
I hope to get free stuff from all these podcasts, and I just wear it on every
Yeah.
podcast, and just
It's cool though, because you're connecting with like the people that actually own the damn thing.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned, it's cool and trendy to do the small business, like support small business stuff like that. But I think it's more, I mean, 80 years ago, like everything you bought was from like the local person in town, pretty much.
100%.
And then so now it's kind of cool to get back to that and say like, oh well, we can still do that. Maybe we have to drive an extra mile down the road past Kroger to get there, but you feel more connected. Like every time you take a scoop out of the bag of the coffee company, the guy that owns the place handed it to you. Like,
I 100% agree. It's weird to think about from the, trying to think of a way to phrase it that doesn't sound like a.
Is it going to be something about PacSun again?
No. It's just, I don't know. Long story short, shopping at small businesses makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And
Matt likes to ride trains to PacSun.
Oh, Jesus. You pulled that one out of, how many podcasts ago was that?
I think it was like our first one.
That's ridiculous. Man. Was it really?
It was one of the first ones. I'm pretty sure it was with Parquet.
Yeah, you're right.
It was.
You have a good memory only on your long-term memory. Your short memory was shot just now.
Yeah.
What do we do on Saturday? So to change gears here, what's one thing that you would do differently? Like or one piece of advice that you would give an entrepreneur that's going to start their business?
That you can make it a lot easier on yourself by just listening to some people. There's something with entrepreneurs where we're the breed of human that obviously realizes that there's something inside us that's worth going and getting things done. You know what I mean? There's something inside us. There's something inside me said that I can pick up a camera and do something better than other people. And that seems really arrogant. But when you clear all the gunk off the table, like that's kind of my way of thinking. It's like, I could do that, you know? And if someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. So, you know, but that's what went through my brain is I could do this, you know, I could do this. Oh, they're charging $30,000 for this. I can do that way cheaper. I can do that way more efficiently too. Just listen to people. I made this Instagram post a few weeks ago where it's like, there's two types of people who are for people and people who are against people. And the last one, you're just bad people. It's not good people, not good people. Do not be the person who just constantly roots against people, refuses to listen to people. Just realize you can make it so much easier on yourself by finding someone willing to answer your DMs or answer your emails or meet up. You can make your life so much easier, and you can save the hair on top of your head by just saying, I'm going to humble myself a little bit and listen to people and realize, like, I'm gonna pull a Bible verse out here. Job, when he's talking to his friend Eliphaz, Job basically, Eliphaz says some dumb stuff. He's basically like, oh, the reason you're suffering is this and this and this. And Job says, they have said that wisdom comes with the aged. That is not. And what Job was saying is, Eliphaz is my elder. They say wisdom comes with the older people. And he basically goes on like 10 verses to explain, like, wisdom comes to those who are able to listen and put it into action. And that's my whole rundown. I'm like, you want to make your life easier? Just listen to people. If someone suggests that you can do something better, listen to it. Don't let it hurt your pride. Do not let it hurt your pride, because in 6 months to a year from now, you're the one who's going to be roasting your old self. Like, you're the one who's going to be like, I got to delete this YouTube video.
Yeah.
I got to archive this. So.
But shouldn't you aim to? You know what I mean? Like, if someone tells you, like, hey, I think this rather than that, like,
yeah.
Okay, I hear you. I'm going back. I'll take a few days and I'll look at what it was and then try to be better at it.
Yeah. I remember, I don't even know who this person was. They messaged me one day and roasted a waterfall picture of mine. I was like, you need to clean your sensor. There's spots all over it. I didn't know that sensors got dirty.
I've still never cleaned a sensor. So.
Yeah, and like, it was because I was changing lenses, like on a hiking trail. And when you crank your aperture up to really long exposures, you talk about with Jeremiah, had to sit there for like 15 seconds. Like, it opens up your sensor all the way, and you start seeing specks of dust on your sensor. And when he sent me that message, I was like, oh, you don't even follow me. Yeah. Why do you care? And then like 30 minutes later, I was like, man, I need to clean my sensor. That's true. I went and looked at a couple of my pictures, and there's little dots in the waterfall. I was like, oh man, this is embarrassing. But it's like, just listen to people. Like, and here's the thing with that, don't listen to some people. I do need to, that's like one of my big like business pet peeves is like,
if someone's just hating to hate,
man, there's some people that I wish I'd never listened to. So I guess that's what I would have done differently, is humbled myself, listened to the right people, not being jealous that they're doing better than me or that their business is doing better than me, and then realize that there's some people not worth listening to out there. And that's not a true knock on anyone, because like, we're all ignorant of something. Like, I don't know how they build space shuttles. Don't listen to me about that. It's like, well, if you built it this way, it's like, what does Wes know about space shuttle? So that's what I would have done differently. And that's the advice I would have told people. And I still tell people, it's like, hey, just listen. Just listen to people. Absorb everything you can, but just humble yourself and just listen to people who've been there and done that. Yeah.
So you've been doing this for, you said, 3 years now?
Going on 3, yeah.
So what's your favorite part about owning this kind of business?
What we were talking about, like, people, like, I'm sitting at home, like, yeah, like,
helping
people. It's like this month we are slam packed, where, like, I think I lost 2 gigs because I was so busy, and I was like, man, there's only 31 days in August, so it's like, I can only do so much, and I just like, that's basically it. Is it's like, I'm sitting at home, like, no matter who it is. Like I said, I've worked with Amazon, I've worked with Ford, I've worked with these people, and when a boutique or a realtor hits me up for a video, or literally a cattle farmer hits me up for a video, I'm at home, like, in my editing bay, whipping out messaging app, like texting my wife, be like, hey, I got this gig and I'm going to get to like ride on a horse, and and then I'm going to get to, and I got this gig, I get to like go inside Legends Stadium, like all this, it's just like, regardless of how big or small it is, like, and then I get to the gig or I get to the job, and they're like even more excited about me. I'm like, man, what a life.
Yeah.
What a life. Like, I've been sitting at home geeking out, and 9 times out of 10, these small businesses have been saving up a little bit of money to get some video work or photo work done, or pinching pennies and saying, hey, let's stop buying this for a few months so we can hire such and such to do some video work or photo work or brand redesign. And I get there, and they're like, man, we've been looking at your stuff man, there's just nothing like it. There's genuinely nothing like it. Yeah. It's just so fun.
Imagine the people that show up to these gigs and they're just like, all right, let's get this done. And
they're
not happy. They're just like, all right, stand over there by that thing. Let's go.
I'm fearful for the videography community, because I don't know about you all, but every photographer I work with at a wedding is like, at the end of the day, like, I was so nervous to work with you. I've had so many bad like I've had so many bad like situations and bad experiences with videographers, and I'm like, and they're always like, you just came in and talked and joked around and had fun. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know people weren't. Like,
this is someone's wedding.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be happy to be here.
Yeah. So I've never, like, I don't know very many videographers like personally and stuff like that, but like, I just can't imagine showing up somewhere and be like, all right, well, you got 5 hours on the clock, and as soon as I unzip this bag, it's on. You know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't imagine. But you know, there's people out there, not only videographers, you know, there's people out there who show up to do something, and they're just like, all right, yeah, okay, bye, yep, we're gonna do it.
If someone caught me at the right time on my wedding day and said that, I'd be like, cool, no one asked. Can you get out your camera now?
Yeah, jeez.
You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be that way, cool.
Yeah.
Get your camera out and get to work then.
I couldn't imagine showing up to something and not like really enjoying it. Like that's what that would be like. It's just work the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sure there's parts of your job that you're like, oh man, I am not thrilled to do this. But isn't there, you know, everyone has those moments where they're like, damn it, I have to edit that video, or I have to write this contract at 10 o'clock, you know.
Here's a perfectly good example of this, and you two are going to know what I'm talking about. There's this like new chain of like cinematography, like videography on YouTube, who's like, oh, when you graduate from weddings. That attitude, it's like, hey, we all do weddings when we start out, and then we'll quit, and then we'll move on to something. And that literally just popped in my head. I was like, I bet you those are the people who show up on wedding day and are like,
what if they enjoy weddings?
The way I put it,
what if that's their whole business?
Yeah, the way that I put it is, if Parker Walbeck can do a wedding, I can do a wedding.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And not skill-wise, because he's insane. But this guy's working with the White House. This guy's working with, you know, Ford. He's working with Ferrari. He's literally built like a multi-million-dollar business. And if he still has time to go film a wedding for a couple of $1,000, then I'm not above it. You know what I mean? But I think it's those people who are the ones showing up and be like, okay, yeah, we're just, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's those people.
They sound like they're not fun.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. It's a blast for me, and I know it's a blast for you guys. Like,
there's not really much more fun than like a fun group of like a wedding that's everybody's happy.
Oh yeah.
Now if everybody's like upset, it's kind of a drag, but when everybody's happy, they're really fun.
Right.
How many times is it that you go to a wedding and it's the biggest day of their life so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing they've ever done, the most amount of money they've spent, all of their family in the same place, and they'll never see those same people in that same exact building or venue or whatever it is ever again.
Yeah. And they thought enough about you to want you there. Like, that's what I always tell myself when I get the pre-wedding anxieties, where I'm like, I don't know why I do this. You know, it's just like, hey man, there's a billion people who do what you do, and they picked you, and they got a hold of you. You know, you weren't the one saying, hey, I saw you got married. Yeah. You should hire me. They were the ones saying, we're getting married. Who do we want? You know, it's a one-time go. Like, that's the difference between, that's why I never understand like the whole attitude. It's like, well, once you move on from weddings, it's like, if I'm at a business, I can take as many takes as I want. That bride walks down that aisle one time, and it's so yeah.
It's wild, and then it's cool because I see both sides of it. So usually the wedding's the biggest day of their life, and the next biggest day is when they buy a house. So you get to see those.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. So you should become a doctor. And
now you got to start delivering babies, son.
Yeah.
I can't do You took it to the one part.
I was getting ready to say. I was like, man, you're gonna be working in the
Shae the midwife, the mid-husband, Shae the mid-husband.
That's hilarious. I can't wait. I want to see him with like the whole garb on and stuff.
Oh yeah.
No.
All right.
Not doing it.
So let's take it to the 6 burning questions.
All right.
Did I basically ask one earlier? Oh shoot.
You did ask. So it's only 5 questions.
I phrased it wrong. That's fine. All right. So what did you learn? You go first.
When you talk about just investing in people, so basically, I think that kind of lumps everything, like listening to them, like helping them in areas even where they may not have helped, like asked you to. They may have just asked you for a video, but next thing you know, you're telling them like, well, hey, here's when you post it. Here's how you post it. Here's if you do this, why don't you go ahead and write a blog so that way you can link it back and like all this kind of stuff. So helping people just invest in their time and like invest in their business like they're invested in you, pretty much.
Yeah.
I would say that it's kind of a combo. Some of the things he mentioned for sure, and one of the things you mentioned, it was going through my mind, but I didn't want to mention the exact same phrase. You didn't necessarily say this as like advice or anything, but it's being excited to be there.
Oh yeah.
Like, yes, you've got the business. You've how do we say it? Converted the lead into an actual piece of business, whatever it is. But just being excited to be there for that person. Same could be said for Shae and I. Be excited to go to the showing. Like, it may be 45 minutes away and it may be one house, but this is the one. You have 20 minutes to walk these people through something that they might live in for 5 years.
Mm-hmm. There's a realtor. Her name starts with an M. Max.
Yeah. At our office.
Yeah.
Maxine.
She hit me up for some video work a little while back, and I've just followed her on social media, and she posted last night. She was like 10:30 at night, and McDonald's. She's in the middle of nowhere at like a horse farm, 10:30 middle of the night at McDonald's, and pumped about it.
Yeah.
And like you just mentioning that, like, it's just, I get it. You get burnt out, but like never let your burnout affect how you treat people. Never let your circumstances affect how you're willing to treat people. I tell, like, when I was working in churches, I used to tell like high schoolers this, like, just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean that everyone else has to.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, and that's something my mom used to tell me when I was a little kid, like, hey, just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean all of us have to have a bad day. And it's like, man, that's so true. And it's like, there's going to be some days where, especially in like, I think all of us know someone right now that's either sick or, knows someone that knows someone who's in the hospital or something like that. And like life's real, but just be nice, like you don't know what they're dealing with, especially on like wedding weekends. It's like, I know what they're dealing with. Anyone who's married is like, they're probably stressed. They're probably just a little stressed.
Even if it's for no reason, because it's all handled and all taken care of, there's still that slight bit of stress.
Yeah. What isn't? So yeah, that's encouraging to hear that you all learn that. Because those are like two of my favorite things. Like, just enjoy what you do. You know what I mean? And
it's so easy to get caught up in the different things, the editing, do I have to go write an offer? How quickly do I need to do? Like all those things that you're like, do I have time to write an offer? Should I stop on the side of the road and do, just all the little stuff that gets in the way, but it's still an exciting thing.
I think it's just a lot easier. I mean, there's in any given day, there's so much stuff that like can work against you and like be annoying. So it's like almost easier to have a bad day, but you just I'll just sit there and like sit down for a second and be like, hey, like, I'm going to have a good day, or I'm not going to let anybody know I'm having a bad day and move on with it.
I've always put it this way. It's a whole lot easier to have a bad day when you want to than it is when you don't. You know what I mean? And it's just, you may still have a bad day if you don't want to have a bad day, but it's a lot easier to just have one if you just let yourself have one. So I always try to do something to, now I have terrible days, but it's like, I'm going to go down swinging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you ready to
Let's
move
do it.
on?
We'll just have you answer this one quick since we'll do our 6 here. What is one thing you'd change or do differently with your business?
When starting it.
When starting it, I'll always, in the back of my mind, wish I never picked up my business and moved it to Omaha. That's hard to say because my wife is from Omaha, so it's like, I don't wish I never went to Omaha. Obviously, like, that would make my life significantly less good.
Yeah.
But for a while, like, you were so confused because I was like in Omaha, like doing gigs down here, and you're like, what are you doing? You're like,
it seems like a really far.
Yeah. So even if I lived up there, like, it's worth coming down here 2 or 3 weeks at a time and getting your clients' stuff done. I'm thankful the opportunity arose, and a house popped up and all that stuff that we were able to make the move. And because Elena's already seen it, like, I'll spend an hour and a half at the barbershop. She's like, what in the world are you doing in there? I'm like, I just talk to people. And she's like, she's so used to big city life where you're just in and out. Your 30-minute appointment, they're liable to, if they don't get your haircut done, you just don't get your hair. Like, it's like that type of busy. So just that. But really I guess the meat of something that I wish I would have done differently is just learn to block out the fads. Most people who follow me on social media follow me because, like, my real quick choppy B-roll videos like you see on the internet and like transitions. that just doesn't do good for businesses. And I personally hurt a lot of businesses by letting them do those videos. And then like, for instance, like I made one of those for a realty video. I need to show you guys, like for a house tour where it's like flipping and all that stuff. And no one liked it.
Yeah.
Because there's like, I'm trying to look at the house and you're over here spinning, doing first person drone stuff. Like,
It
can we
sounds like
chill?
It sounds like exactly what Jeremiah said.
I was about to say, Jeremiah said that same. He was like, I know it's cool. I know it's the trending thing, and like every other video right now, he's like, but with houses, like you got to show off the house, man. Like,
it's not really about action when you're walking through a house.
And I did that. I let a realtor like say, this is what I want, and didn't do good at all. And I went and refilmed that for him for free, and that one got normal engagement. You know, it's just. It gives people headaches. So I wish I would have just blocked out trends and be like, okay, just because Daniel Schiffer on YouTube is doing this doesn't mean that I need to do it. There's a time and place for that.
I think a lot of people, like with a lot of the trending stuff, and this can be said about a lot of different industries, when you try to get caught up in the trend, like say you do those type of videos, you're basically selling yourself. You're not selling the house, and they need the house. So
you all had a CBD company on.
Yeah.
And they used a tobacco farm. And you said the tobacco industry is probably really good because I think 3 years ago there was 208 farms in Kentucky. I think we're down beneath 70 right now.
I used to drive past rows of it on the way to the farm that we hunt.
Yeah. Tobacco prices are like obviously inflated and they're not worth as much as they were. Yeah, it's still a big business. You know what I mean? And that's what my best friend is a hemp farmer, and he was like, man, I wish I would have kept my tobacco just for a few more years. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm very thankful. I don't do it anymore, obviously, when I moved and stuff like that. But that's why I was very thankful I rode that tobacco train as long as I could, because everyone was like, Wes, you got to get into hemp. You got to get into hemp. You got to get into hemp. And this isn't a knock against anyone who got into hemp, because for 2 years, those guys made bank.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
It was printing money for a while.
Yeah, those guys made bank where it was just like, oh, you want to make $30 an hour for stand and watch at my greenhouse? Yeah, sure. You know, it's just like, okay, well, but I just wish I would have blocked that out in videography, been like, hey, I know it looks cool. Do it on your own time. But you're here to serve businesses, not look cool, you know? And it's 2021. And just this morning I had a conversation with a client. I was like, I know it's so cool and I'm willing to do it, but that's not what's going to reach the right people for you, you know? And that lady appreciated the heck out of that. She was like, oh, I never thought about that. I was like, sent her a bunch of screenshots of my analytics of businesses that I, you know, promote and things. And I was like, look at all this. And then look at just a regular, you know, just not a regular video. Because I think it's important. You'll probably agree with you always got to add a unique, you know, creative touch. That's how you separate yourself, you know. So
I was thinking about something.
You've done that a lot this week.
Dude, this is the story of my life.
Yeah.
What's your favorite hobby?
Oh, man.
Were you thinking about that because it's the second question that you were supposed to ask?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
So the issue with hobbies is like, so it took a long time to get Elena to marry me, like to even admit she liked me.
Was that a hobby of yours, trying to get her to marry you?
Well, the issue was, it's like, I'm a firm believer that if you have the opportunity to learn something, you better do it. So like, I've always said jack of all trades, master of none. And so like I try to make sure that in any situation, if something pops up, I can do it. My favorite hobby would probably be like hiking, but it's not really a hobby anymore. Leather work. Like most people don't know that. I think I've uploaded like 5 or 6 things just casually. But I love making bags, love making, you know, wallets. I like sewing and things like that. Like my favorite class in middle school and high school was home ec. And I don't know what it is about sewing and things like that. So when I like learned, it's like, oh, I can make this leather stuff, and you know, it's hard and man, it's expensive. But I'd say leather work, 100%.
That's a cool hobby.
I've always loved leather. I follow a few people that do it just to watch them make different things.
You want to talk about a business that's like a lot of people are getting in right now is leather. I'm very thankful I don't do it for a business because I'm not as good as most people. But it's just fun. It's just.
Have you seen the dude that follows us that does it?
Is it Timber and Bluff?
I can't remember the name. Sorry, but he's got some dope stuff. Like he just followed us one day on the podcast page.
One of them I use for all my
up.
stuff. Like I buy all my wallets, and he's building some stuff for our photography business right now.
There's is it Peck Leatherwork?
That's somebody too. That may be it.
Noah Peck out of Stanford. He's been doing it for a long time, but he just turned it into a business. So
whenever we get to like the last question, I'll look it up. I can't remember. I cannot.
Here's what we
remember
need to
for the
do. We
life
just
of me.
need to mention every single leather company we
Yeah.
know. And just
One
We'll
of
get
those
there.
is going to be
one of those guys, or yeah.
Let's go on. What's your favorite local restaurant? You were having a hard time thinking of one of these, weren't you?
Yeah. So my go-to spot is Crank and Boom.
Love it.
I actually tried to take Elena. It used to be in the Summit.
Yeah, they had a little spot there. They just got rid of all of that.
I moved away and I walked up to the barn and I was like, "This isn't a thing anymore."
Yeah,
I
it's
was
different,
like,
yeah.
It isn't a thing anymore. And then I figured out it was in Distillery District. I don't know.
There's another one over by Southland Drive or Clays Mill, and Wellington.
Oh, I didn't
Okay,
even know
got
that.
you. As far as restaurant, I don't even know if it's only local, but I love Goodfellas Pizza.
Oh yeah, it's local.
It's right next to Crank and Boom, the distillery.
Yeah.
But
It started here, didn't it?
Yeah, that one little spot
And then they've
downtown.
got one in like Cincy and Indianapolis, and I don't
Okay.
know where the other one's. Maybe Louisville.
I think so.
But
yeah, I like it pretty well. I'm a big pizza guy. Omaha has anywhere where there's Italians, there's good pizza, and Omaha has a lot of good pizza. They got me addicted to it. So, but that's
is it
always
better?
been
Is it better here or there?
It's better here because we have better water.
Yeah.
So like New York has good pizza because they have all those old water filtration systems. So the better your water, the better. I was going to build my own brick oven one time, and I was like looking at it's like, all right, this percentage of water, this percentage is like, oh, this is why New York pizza is good because it's so.
That's why they say our bourbon's so good because of the water.
Absolutely, yeah.
What is your favorite musical artist that nobody would expect?
Probably. So artist wise, like you'd expect it now because they trend on TikTok all the time. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love.
Oh yeah.
Like, and
it's
my
one of the
favorite-
best wedding songs in the history of wedding songs.
Yeah, so it's like September's popular, and now Let's Groove is popular, but I love their song, Sing a Song. Like, I was blasting on the way up here. And, Elena just knows it from TikTok, but my granny used to, like, clean to that stuff when I was little. So that. But as far as, like, something I listen to on a regular basis that no one would expect me to is a High School Musical, the first one. That soundtrack goes so hard. That soundtrack goes so hard. Yeah, so.
That is random.
Love me some Zac Efron, though.
I don't know
What a
why,
fox.
but I was like, that's so annoying. I don't want to, I don't want to listen to that. I think I was in 4th grade. Or no, I think I was in 6th or 7th grade when it came out. And we went to see it with school. I was like, this is a good movie. I was like, in 7th grade, I was like, I can't let anybody know. Go to a small town high school, like,
Yeah, that
no
movie
one's going to
sucked.
know.
Yeah, I agree. It
But I
sucked.
still listen to Breaking Free almost daily. So.
Nice.
What's your? I've never seen High School Musical.
I'm not going to say it's good because, like, my favorite. Some of my
You
favorite.
just said it was good.
Well, I'm not going to say that you all will think it's good, but like last night, so my birthday was Tuesday, and I told Elena all I want to do for my birthday. I wanted this old fart hat.
Happy late birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
Wait, when was your birthday?
31st of August.
So 2 days ago.
Dang, dude. I told Shae to get you a cake.
Oh yeah, that
don't
is
know what
true.
happened.
It's on its
Matt
own.
hit me up and everything
Yeah.
about it. But I said all I want to do is watch the original Ninja Turtle movies,
Yeah.
and we watched them, and Elena was like, "These are bad. They're funny, but they're bad." I was like, "Yeah, I don't remember them being this bad." But so
I watched one recently, and I was like, why did I like this
A
so
lot
much?
of old movies are like,
Yeah.
yeah. You watch them again, you're like,
I
oh,
forgot
God.
they were like 15.
Yeah.
Like so.
The age of them when they were fighting.
So when we watched the first one, I was like, "That's why they act like this because
Yeah.
they're 50." For some reason, I was thinking
I
like
didn't know that either. I'd have to watch
35 years old or something like this. So yeah.
I've heard Space Jam's like if you rewatch Space Jam again, like it's really not that great either.
So I watched the new one.
It's
like,
horrible. That's a god awful.
It was, and it's like you can't even say it without people like, "Oh, you just hate LeBron." It's like, no, it's just a bad movie.
That was a horrible movie.
So I rewatched the first one. I was like, "This ain't bad. That's a good storyline, I guess." It's like,
I need to rewatch it.
It's got Bill Murray in it.
yeah,
It's fine.
So I thought Bill Murray died because I watched Zombieland, and subliminally I convinced myself that he actually died. So
And then you see him on the college basketball, like behind this.
yeah. So that's a fun fact about me and Bill Murray is I thought he was dead for like 4 years.
Can we get Bill Murray on?
His son
How
played
hard
at,
is
his
that?
son played at Louisville. He was in Louisville for a while.
We got this.
Yeah.
There's some connection there, I'm sure.
Somehow.
Yeah, he used to come. He would come like show up and sing at like random bars in like the middle of Shelbyville and stuff like that.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Why wasn't I there?
What's your favorite business book if you read?
Extreme Ownership by Jocko. Man,
I own that, I think.
that book,
Yeah, you do.
other than scripture, that book has made the biggest impact on my life.
That's an intense dude.
He is so intense. I like some of Goggins' books. If I get the clean version, and it's not that I like my whole thing is like just don't cuss at me. You know what I mean? Just don't towards me. Just try not to do it towards me. But I like Goggins. He's way too. It's like it doesn't seem real with him.
Yeah.
Like I swear he's at home watching like My Little Pony or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't think he's
Dude, that guy's wired differently.
I
You
know.
don't run.
He's on another planet.
You were talking about running earlier, and you didn't really mention it like on the podcast necessarily.
Right.
But anybody that runs like that, and anybody that, I'm sure he has a soft side, right? Everyone has like a soft spot for something, but that dude is bad.
Yeah, that he ran the Moab 240, so 240 miles, and had to drop out, and was just the whole time he was like getting carted off, just talking trash to himself. It's like you're weak. I'm like, man, I've gone 140, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
And he's just smiling, yelling at the camera at like mile 200. He's like,
Cam Haynes is like the mild version of him, who isn't
Yeah.
like in your face.
yeah.
He's just so chill and like,
Yeah.
When those two get together,
It's wild. It makes me feel so inferior watching them like stand
Yeah.
next to each other.
yeah. So I like Jocko because he's very calm. He's very calculated. I love the fact that several times, like, he uses extreme ownership, and he's like, hey, I used to do this and I was wrong, or I said this on the last podcast, and I don't necessarily actually believe that. But the book Extreme Ownership, it's taught me there are literally zero circumstances in your life that you don't need to take ownership of. You know, not the blame for. So like if you get cancer, don't take unless you're smoking a pack a day or something like that. But like there's no situation that arises in your life that you don't need to say, okay, I'm going to own this, and even if I didn't get the cards dealt to me, I'm going to deal with it like I'm the one who caused it. I'm about to reread it. But Extreme Ownership, and then the Dichotomy of Leadership, which is the next book to that.
That may be the one that I own.
Yeah, that's the popular
Somebody gave
one.
it to me for Christmas last year.
So Extreme Ownership was not the popular one?
Well,
I've heard of that one more than I've heard of
I
the
think
Dichotomy.
the Dichotomy of Leadership has sold more
Interesting.
because of the word leadership in it. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
like a lot of people, like, actually maybe not a lot of people. I think the girl at the bookstore, I asked for it, and I was like, she's like, I don't think it should be in leadership. And I was like, well, I think it should. When I bought the physical book, I was like, I think it should. That's what it's about. It's like, you know, how Navy SEALs lead,
Yeah.
you know. But it's just fascinating how the system that he implemented for his guys in the Navy SEALs literally works in everything. Like I implemented this stuff in churches, you know what I mean? Where it's like there's a lot of biblical principles in there that I was able to, like, that it was able to bring to light that I just didn't skim over. It just made a huge impact on me, just being able to say, hey, if I mess this up, I messed this up, and I can't just say that to myself. Like my peers need to realize like that I own it. And so, and it is an extreme book. Like it makes me uncomfortable sometimes because I'll try to like justify my own actions, and I just listen to Jocko's rumbly voice on his podcast, and he's like, yeah, so
I'm getting the audiobook soon then.
Yeah.
Sounds good. The last question is, what's your favorite guilty pleasure?
My favorite guilty pleasure is swing dancing.
Swing dancing.
Wow.
Yeah. So Elena, my wife, is a swing dancing instructor.
Oh, cool.
So old school Lindy Hop stuff, 1920s, 30s, 40s stuff. Love it.
That's
Love
wild.
it. We'll
dope.
swing dance for 4 hours. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
We have something similar.
Swing
What
dancing? Maybe some form of dancing.
No, I was the aerobics person. I don't remember what it was now. Because remember we said we were going to sign you up for the men's class of the aerobics.
Oh,
Yeah.
Aisha.
Look, he knows more about it.
Aisha.
Yeah, there we
On
go.
the Creo podcast, yeah.
yeah.
We still got to go do that. We should shoot a little
We-
quick iPhone video of us.
hell, you got a mouse in your pocket? I ain't doing that.
He's got some solid spandex sets that he's not talking about right now. Some colorful ones. Think Eddie Murphy and Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
Nutty Professor. Yeah.
All right.
Jeez.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate
Loved
it.
it. It was nice finally meeting you.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. Well, this is Shae.
And this is Matt.
It's the Building Small Business Podcast. Peace.
You sound so
Now I have
have to start again.